Alright, this is my pre-lesson plan video. My subject is going to be tangent lines to circles. I'm doing this mainly because I think it's an interesting study. It shows the relationship between perpendicular lines. It also utilizes a lot of the different things that they're already familiar with, they've already been exposed to, such as the distance formula, the midpoint formula, the circle formula, and a linear formula, y equals mx plus b. So I'm trying to tie these all together so that we can take and give them certain information and then have them figure out what the slope of the line is going to be when it's tangent to a circle. I have pretty much already made a decision to use Prezi again in my presentation simply because I think it's visually engaging to everyone. What I also want to do is, I learned a lot from my last micro teaching in that I didn't give enough time for the students to ask questions and stuff. This time I've taken a different approach. I've set up my Prezi as a sort of an advanced outline of my class, and what I did was I put up questions like essential terms. What is a circle? And that's going to be open for class discussion. So we're going to give about 20 seconds for the class to tell what they think a circle is, and then I'll put up the real definition for the circle. Then we'll talk a little bit about what's a radius. Same thing, we do a class discussion. That's going to be our warm-up, because what we're doing is we're spiraling back to information that they've already learned according to the book in the last couple of lessons. So again, I want to try to engage the class a little bit more with my Prezi instruction, but I also want to be able to have the class participate. I believe that if you get the kids in there, from what I've seen during my practicum, and start asking them questions, if you get one or two of them to start asking questions, then the other ones might come out of their shell and start asking questions. So I want to make sure that I'm leading them through this by, number one, starting off with common terms. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to review the equations that we'll need to solve this problem. It's something that everybody ought to already be familiar with. So again, I see the Prezi as pretty much giving them a review, a quick review. Then asking anyone, if you have any questions, what do we need? If you've got the distance formula, what do you need? You need 2 points. I want to get them to tell me that they need 2 points in order to use that. For the circle, we're going to write, equation of a circle up there. What is H? What is K? What is R? Ask them questions and make sure that they understand it. I could have given them a warm-up quiz, but I thought that it would be better to engage the entire class than just have a few people who may know this information, and then the rest of them really don't get anything out of the warm-up. So I thought I'd take a different approach and try to get everybody involved right from the very beginning. Once we go through the equations, then I'm going to start talking about perpendicular lines, and how perpendicular lines have a unique little relationship in that their slopes are always the inverse negative reciprocal of the other one. And what I'll do is I'll write slopes up on the board, and I'll get them used to taking a slope such as 3 over 4 and changing that into minus 4 over 3. And I figure after about 5 or 6 of these, everybody will understand the pattern so that they understand the nature of the inverse negative reciprocal. At that point, what I'm going to do is we're going to start talking about, well, how does this help us? So I've got 5 different approaches actually. First one is, how do you find the equation when you're given the equation of a circle and a point of tangency? And we'll do a couple of examples with that. I've got another completely different one where you only have the center of the circle and a point of tangency. Then we're going to talk through that one. Then I've got 3 questions, which what I want to do is I want to try to engage the class again. What if we only gave you the area of a circle and the point of tangency? How could you work backwards from what you know about the area of a circle and get the equation for the line that's tangent? The other one was, what if you only know the circumference of the circle? How can you do that? And then the last one is, what if you only know the radius of the circle? So all of these are directly related, and what I'm trying to do is get them to tie it all in, that you really need 2 points to determine the slope, and then you need one of those points has to be the point of tangency, and it's always going to be the opposite inverse reciprocal of the other one. Those are the 2 main points that I really want to get across to the class. I've tried to involve a little bit of information on the using the TI Inspire computer algebraic system so that we can actually take one of these problems and have the whole class go in, if they're not familiar with the TI Inspire, and we're going to actually go in there and graph that, and then graph the line of tangency, and then we're going to see how that works, and then actually have the computer tell us what the intercept points are and everything. As far as how I'm going to determine whether my students have actually learned anything out of the class, I'm going to have a quick quiz. It's going to consist of 3 questions. All of them are going to be, I'm going to give them 3 different examples. I'm going to give them an equation of a circle and a point of tangency. I'm going to give them a center point and a point of tangency. And then I'm going to give one of them as an area and the point of tangency. And what I want them to do is I want them to solve that equation and be able to draw a quick graph of it and throw it in. I think I forgot to mention while I was doing the warm-up is we do go through slopes. I want them to understand what the difference is between a positive slope, a negative slope, a zero slope, and an undefined slope, and how you can tell that by looking at the slope of y over x, and if it's positive or negative or 0, what you can tell what that slope is going to actually look like when you graph it. That way the students can actually look beforehand and say, okay, this slope is going to be, it's positive, so it's going to look like this on the circle. Or it's negative, so it's going to look like this on the circle. Or it's a 0, so it's going to look like this. That will, I think, help the students to visually understand the concepts that we're trying to get across. As far as implementing the cultural and the linguistic information into my lesson plan, I got some good information from my mentor teacher. She says instead of using large words like you normally use in mathematics language, if you've got English language learners in there, you have to use simple terms. So instead of using extract, I'm going to use get. Keep it simple. I believe that's probably about everything I'm going to be able to cover. Once I collect the tests, I can do error analysis on it and find out what everyone has problems with, and then we can go back and we can address that at a later time. So that's my original lesson plan, and hopefully this will turn out good for everybody. Thank you.